The next part of the class is going to be adding some templates and variables, because right now all we have is this very basic, just some text spit out on a screen. And that's great for a hello world, but not so great if you have an app that you actually want to use. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to bring up your terminal. And your terminal is the one that's like the window down here at the bottom that says bash. That's the one you want. And we're going to have 3 new commands. I'm going to copy them real fast. I'll bring them back, don't worry. Paste them. There. So we're going to git checkout master. Since we're all the way in the past, we need to tell git to go back to the future. So unfortunately, the way this kind of works, you're going to go back to the future and then you're going to go back to the past, but not as far back as before. That's what git checkout master brings you all the way forward. Git checkout this hash B250BD1 will take you back to another commit, and git clean FD will clean up everything, because otherwise there'll be mystery folders that will make no sense to you yet. I'm going to go into my directory, go play Elsewhere Hannah. That's my daughter. And you'll see some things have changed. So if you go into run.py, it's a whole lot more sparse than it was before. We're still importing OS, but now we have this line, from app, import app. We now have a folder called app. The reason you're doing this is because if we put every single thing that we're going to do into run.py, we would go insane. And I have done this before when I was first learning Flask, and just totally put everything in run.py. And yeah, it became unmaintainable very, very quickly. And we're talking about an app that had did 4 different things. So it wasn't incredibly complex, but I do recommend starting to organize your app. So we have a folder called app, and there is a file called init.py. Now you may have seen this if you've worked with other modules. Init.py just tells Python you need to treat this as a module, as something you're going to do something with. Often it's empty, but in this case it is not. That's where we do the Flask import, and that's where we set up the app. And then we have this line, from app import views. So this says go find the views.py file and just bring in everything. So here we have from app import app, more magic, and we have app.route for the base route. And this time we're returning your lucky number is 7, because this is kind of what we're going to build off of. Go back to run.py and run it. Oh, we got an error. Oh, address already in use. Oops. Oh, I see. Yep. I'm going to close this. If you get that error, look to see if you have a tab that says run in it. You're going to run it. You're going to get your class. Reload here. Ah, there we go. Your lucky number is 7. So some things that if you start seeing errors, you may need to close. If you look around and see if you see another thing where your code is running, kind of terminal, close that. Flask will reload. It should reload every time, but if you ever have an issue, close that tab, run it again. Another thing people often mess up is they actually run the wrong file. So you need to make sure you have run.py selected and then click the green run. If you try to run any other file, it's not going to work. You're going to get weird can't import app, can't find, you find all kinds of weird things. Make sure you're running run.py. So as you can see, it now works. Your lucky number is 7. So this is kind of like the hello world before, but we've set it up correctly. It's more complex, but it's better to set everything up right the first time. So right now, this is a very, very basic page. It actually has some default HTML, and it's not very pretty. We're going to want to start using our own HTML templates. So let's do that. I am just going to check it out real fast. Check out master, and I'll put these up in a second. So you're going to want to git checkout master, go back to the future, or actually the present, git checkout C6BEE9. That'll send you back to the commit. Git clean FD to remove all the weird folders that you don't need yet. So if you need to, pause. And now the differences are now we have a template. And all the template is some basic HTML. If you've never worked with HTML, this is what HTML looks like at its most basic. You have 2 HTML tags, you have 2 body tags in there, you have a header, which is big, you have a paragraph and another paragraph. Going to go back to run.py, run it. There we go. So we have this template, but we're not using it yet. In order to use it, we need to update views. So we have render template. So from Flask, import render template. What this is, it's going to tell everything. It's going to tell the app to render a template. And instead of checking out the correct thing, I am just going to put this in here. I'm going to bring up my website again. Make it a teeny bit smaller. So here you can see we're actually using the template. Welcome to your lucky number generator. Your lucky number is 5, which is great. You know, that's perfectly fine. But the problem is this is static. It's not going to change. We can't put anything new in there. So we're actually going to have to start figuring out how to add variables. So let's add a variable to it. So first I'm going to bring up the template, and I'm still editing the code here because it's getting annoying going back and forth. I will go back and get everyone to the point where I am now pretty soon. So instead of 5 here, we're going to do this. So that's curly bracket, lucky underscore num, end curly, end curly. The curly brackets are at the end of your top row. Be able to do shift to get them. This is a template variable. We can shove data in there. We can shove any kind of data we want in there. If we go to views, the way we get that is we add to render template lucky num equals 7. You want the template name to come first, simple.html, and you want all the template variables to come after that. So it should say 7, and haha, here, it says 7, yay! So now we're sticking a variable in there. So this is the very first step to making a dynamic site. Even though this value, of course, isn't going to change, we can make it change. In order to do that, in order to make it change, let's go ahead and make it a random number. One thing I wanted to point out before we move on, templates are stored in an actual directory called templates. You can change this directory if you want. I don't recommend it. It's a lot of effort for not much benefit, but that's where simple is living. So in order to have a random number, go into here, from random, import rand int. Now, what random is, it is a Python module, comes with Python. It has a whole bunch of stuff for getting random numbers. Rand int is something within that I like. It gets a random integer between 2 numbers. So we're going to say our lucky number, rand int, between 1 and 100. Save it. So here we have 59. And if we load it again, 68, 45, and it would get any number between 1 and 100 inclusive. So you can get a 1, you can get 100. All right, so at this point I am going to get everybody back up to where we need to be. Going to stop running, get checkout messed, wait. And if you've been typing and messing around with stuff, all you have to do is git reset hard, which I'll add that to the thing. Git checkout master, checkout this hash, and now it's working. Okay. Okay, so you want to git reset dash dash hard, and that basically removes all your changes. Git checkout master takes you back to the present. Git checkout cc06a60 brings you back to the past. Git clean fd dash fd will get rid of all the weird stuff that shouldn't be there. And let's go over here and see what changed. So views.py is really what's going to keep changing. So here we have app.route. This stayed pretty much the same, except here I went and moved randint into lucky num, which was just a stylistic thing. And here, move my head there. We have something new. App.route / max in like little angle brackets. This is going to create a new route. So if you go to /something/, it will actually load this page. So it's actually going to use the same template. Now, one of the beauties of templates is that you can reuse them over and over and over again. So here, Lucky Max is going to accept a parameter called max, which we're going to get from the URL. Our lucky num is going to be a random integer between 1 and the integer value of max. So when you pass in something as a parameter, it is always going to be a string, always. So what you need to do if you want to use it as a number is convert it. So we're going to get the integer value of max. We're going to return the rendered template, simple.html, and lucky num, and in the value lucky num, put lucky num. So let's see if this works. And I'm going to say 20. Ugh. Okay, fine. Go back to run. Oh, that's right, it's not running. I closed it. There we go. Try now. Okay, so if you go to your URL, which for me it's flask-class2-k cunning c9users.io, and do /a number, you're going to get a number between 1 and 20 inclusive. So if we just keep reloading, you'll get 3, whatever. You'll get anything between 1 and 20. So that is one of the ways you can get a value from the path, which is honestly what, that's the biggest part of like these, that you can get values. Like you can get like if /blog/2015, okay, give me all the blog entries from 2015. The one thing that I kind of skipped over, but we'll go over now, is you don't always need to get a value from the route. So you can go app.route, and I'm just going to make one called hello. Def say hi, return hello there. And this should work. Hello there. So what this is basically Flask is going to go through all these options. And since I said hello explicitly, it said, okay, I am going to load this page. So each of these views, which each of these is called a view, you can have views that have variables that you're going to get from them or values you're going to get from them. They could have no values. They could have a mix, just like blog/2015. 2015 is most certainly a value you'd be getting, but blog isn't. So unless you have really, really weird routing. Now, one thing I wanted to show you, what happens if we enter 5? Aha, we get a value error. This is actually really good. Some people get very scared of errors, but errors are the best thing that you can ever have happen to you when you're running stuff and something goes wrong, because trust me, you do not want to not get an error, because you will spend days trying to figure out what went wrong. Now let me show you how I got that. Under app.run, debug equals true. Debug means we're going to send out all the errors, and we're actually just going to put them in the browser for you. You don't want to do this in anything that you're actually going to push to production, because there's a lot of information in here that you probably don't want people to see. So it looks like gobbledygook for the most part, but my trick is go to the end. And that's usually where things went really wrong, because tracebacks literally do trace back through everything they were doing until the place where something went wrong. Here is the important one. LuckyNum equals randint 1 to int max. What happens is we sent 5, like literal F-I-V-E, 5. You cannot convert, if a string can't be converted into an integer, and when you use int, Python explodes. It doesn't know what to do. So this is an error. You might want to add in some error handling. I'm not going to go into error handling right now, but there's all kinds of choices. Like if somebody, gives you a bad thing, you may return a different template, like nope, bad value. And we are going to get into other kinds of error handling later in this class. But if you see something like this, something went wrong, just go to the end and start from there. And look at what happened there. Now that we've added a variable template, we're actually going to look at loops, because you can put loops in templates, which is super useful. I'm going to stop. In theory, I shouldn't need to stop. I didn't need to last night, but things are wonky. All right, git checkout master, git reset hard then. If you get please commit your changes or stash them, blah, 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 git reset hard is what you need to do. Git checkout master, checkout the hash, git clean fd. All right. So here's the new hash. Git reset hard to get rid of all your changes. Git checkout master, go back to the present. Git checkout 9bb38e1, go back into the past. Git clean-fd to get rid of everything that you don't need right now. So let's see what changed. Now if you look under templates, you'll see we have a new file called game. And what we have here, just in header 1, a paragraph, and then we have this. It's curly bracket %sign. This is actually some kind of function, or some kind of it's not a variable, it's actually a do this thing kind of thing. So it's a function or a control method or something like that. So for num in game nums, and we'll find out what game nums is in a second. Just print out num and a space, and then end for. If you're used to Python, you're probably not used to having to use end for or actually end something, but you have to do that in templates because, of course, HTML is not white space. Is not white space dependent. Everything can be smushed together, so you actually need to say when the for loop ends. But this is just a for loop. And let's look at the other thing that changed, which is views. We now have something called game. So we've defined game. It's not being passed in anything. Game nums is just an empty list. So while the length of game nums is less than 5, so while there's fewer than 5 values in game nums, some number is a random number between 1 and 10. If not n in game nums, so if n is not in game nums, go ahead and put that number in game nums. So this is going to give us a list of 5 numbers that are all unique. Then we're going to render template game.html, game nums equals game nums. So we're sending the list. We need to go to run.py. We need to run. There we go. We're going to go to the URL /game. So, welcome to the game. The winning numbers are 1, 8, 4, 6, 3, and if we reload, we'll get some new numbers. So we got 4, 9, 3, 2, 1. So that's what a for loop does. It just repeats that bit of code over and over again, just like in Python, just like in any language. So that's what a loop looks like. It's actually super easy, and it's very powerful because when you're working with websites, of course, you have a lot of repeats. So if you're going to have every blog post from 2015, boom, you would have like a bunch of them. And you can have as much as you want in that for loop. So I just have one value, but you could have a bunch of HTML, you could have whatever you want. Now at this point, we have game.html, we have simple.html, and there's a lot of cut and paste. So if you look at game.html and simple.html, you can see there's a lot of elements that are the same. And if I had a complex header in here that had CSS and all this other stuff, there would be a lot of copy and paste, which can suck if you suddenly need to direct to a different CSS file. So what you want to do is create a base template. And a base template is just one that all of the other templates you have are going to inherit from. So it's going to have a lot of chunks of space that you can slot information into. So you can actually take several templates and smush them all into one, and Flask will take them all and create one HTML page out of all of them and serve that. So git reset hard, git checkout master, check out my hash, git clean-fd. And I'm going to reload this. And while it's reloading, I'm going to come over here, get that hash up. So git reset hard, get rid of all your changes, git checkout master, go back to the present, git checkout 0549B70 to go back to the past, git clean-fd to get rid of any folders we're not using at the moment. So let's see what changed. If we go into templates, we now have base.html. I'm going to close these. HTML body, and then we have block, content, and block. Blocks are basically where you're going to shove information. So block content is a pretty common one. This is just the content of the page. Now if we open up game, you'll see there's no more HTML and body tags. Instead, we have extends base.html that basically says go find base HTML because that's what we're putting all the information into. And we're going to create a block content that says, okay, find the block called content in base.html, shove this in here. Welcome to the game, the winning numbers are, we have our loop. So it's basically what we had before, but now it's a little bit easier to maintain going forward. And we've also done the same change to simple. So go find base HTML, here's what I want you to put in the content. So you only have one number there. And that is really all that changed. Because if you go to the views, we're still calling the same templates. You don't really call base.html. Base.html is not there to be used directly. It's there to be used with other templates. Let's run it. Running it. And it looks exactly the same. I mean, that's really the point. You want it to look the same. You want it to work the same. So if you go down to the base, you get one random number. If you do max, you get a random number between 1 and 25. And if you go to game, you get the game. Looks exactly the same as before, but now it's going to be easier to maintain. Next up, we are going to extend our templates by adding Bootstrap and CSS, and we are going to make our app portable using pip and a requirements.txt file. See you there.